Hi, everyone. Good evening. How is everybody doing today? Hi, in the bushes. Hi, Roberta. It's good to see you guys. Sorry I did not end up making it live yesterday. It got crazy. Life got crazy. You guys know how it is, especially being a mama. Hi, Ocean Tide. How are you? Hi, Shadow. This case, you guys. Oh, hold on. I gotta. Hmm. Let me adjust this. I have not used my actual mic in a while, and it might need fiddled with a little bit. So I do apologize if the audio sounds wonky, but I didn't want to use my work one, my headset for work. So, okay, how many of you guys, first of all, let's start out like this. Put a one in the chat if you seen my upload about this horrific is the only way that I know how to describe this case, honestly. It's absolutely freaking tragic what these children were going through in Michigan. And then the information that I show you tonight is also going to be that much more tragic because these kids didn't have to go through what they were going through. There were individuals that would have taken them into custody in the heartbeat that had previously had custody of them. And then there was a father who actually had filed for custody of them as well and was trying to fight for custody of them. And it looks like he must have just gave up and didn't want to go through fighting a mom for the rights, essentially is what it seems like. I know that he is probably beating himself up that he didn't try harder, and that this family just I can understand how tragic that this whole situation is probably for this entire family, knowing what these kids have went through and seeing the horrors of the few photos that we did of that house. um and so there's going to be a lot of things that we look at tonight, but one of the things is going to be those custody battle paperworks. We do have the paperwork and we're going to take a look at it. Hi, Daddy's baby girl, how are you? Hi, Kathleen. Hi, Seal. Hi, Lioness. Welcome in, everybody. Good to see you guys. If you guys are newer to the channel, please just come in and join us in the chat. This is a very friendly community. Everybody gets along. Everybody loves each other. We do try to cover cases in a respectful way. And sorry, I was clicking in to hear my audio real quick. Let me fix something. I don't know why it sounds so like robotic almost. I do apologize. But come on in, hit the like, subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and let's get into this. Yeah, she sure did make herself look good. So the first thing I'm going to start with is actually the press conference. I think that starting with the press conference that they did today is appropriate because this will give everybody a layout of this case and what was going on. So that's where we're going to start. Hi, Red Rock. Good to see you. So this is Fox 2 Detroit, and they covered this.
With all we need.
You're more than enough, brother.
Yeah, that's right. We don't need another one.
That's what I heard too.
Green light on. The QR code and the PayPal link for the donation if you need it. Just let me know afterward. I'll send it to you.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
think that should be on social.
That would make sense. You see me walking around.
Oh my gosh.
There we go. I'm like, man, where's it start at? There we go.
That's what I do.
Goodness.
Oh, I'm over there.
I will show you guys
Sorry,
the QR code that they're talking about as well as the donation link. They're looking at financial donations right now for this family and for these children. I cannot even imagine the amount of medical care, the amount of, I mean, heck, even their hair, like the things that these children are going to need, teeth, dental work. I can imagine probably skincare, you know, 5 years. 5 years of no hygiene practices at all. 5 years in the worst possible conditions that you can imagine. Um, just keep that in mind.
You guys already white balanced?
Oh, yeah.
Like that?
I might actually go for this.
Okay. Obviously, we're here to update you on the very horrific case of the 3 children in Pontiac who had been basically abandoned in a home. I'll kind of give you a little bit of an update on where we are, and more specifically where the kids are, how they're doing, and the kinds of things we're asking for on behalf of the kids. So one of the first questions is that we've heard from a lot of people is, where was the dad during this? So to back up a little bit, the father had been incarcerated for a period of time and had no contact with the kids. When he came out, he sought the opportunity to reunite with the kids and actually filed some legal papers in court to try to get visitation and those kinds of things. A consent agreement was arrived at in 2022, but the mother still would not allow him to see the kids. So that's what we've learned so far, at least preliminarily. We're going to go back and double check all these timelines and that kind of information. So he, in essence, had lost contact with the kids. And that's where that stood. So we've had questions about that. The other questions that we've had was, who were the other people potentially dropping food at the house other than the mother? So far, again, the investigation is pretty layered and complex, given that it's going over years. But it appears that those are companies, like an Instacart or a DoorDash, things like that. So so far, none of the people that were coming to the house had any awareness that there were kids inside or the situation in which they were delivering to. Obviously, the question was somebody dropping food off knowing there's kids there? No information at this point leads us to believe that.
And we're going to talk about that more coming up here soon. Hi, Mama Bear. Hi, Ringo. There are friends that said that she was constantly sending DoorDash to her kids and that they were under the impression that she had lost custody, that dad had the kids. And she would literally complain about how she had to send money to her baby daddy for this and send money to her baby daddy for that, even hitting her father up for money for the kids' needs, even though that they were supposedly in her baby daddy's care. And so it's honestly, it's tragic because her father, I believe 100% would have taken these children in. And from what I understand, he may have. Hi, Cooter G. How are you? Hi, BC.
The kids were forensically interviewed, with our partners at Care House. They've already been seen once at McLaren. We intend to have them at a much more detailed, both physical and mental health kind of checkup, if you will, that will happen hopefully this week. When our detectives saw them at their interview at Care House, they were already making amazing progress, having had some tender love, having had some supportive care, having been put in new clothing and some basic hygiene. The one detective said that the little girl was talking quite a bit. So that's super exciting to see that happening. And as it relates to being in the house, the only one of the 3 that ever came out was the young boy, and he came out twice. Once because he wanted to feel the grass, which by itself is heartbreaking, and a second time to check the mail. So
Wow.
you wouldn't do this to an animal, let alone your child. So, just to hear that he came out to touch the grass is just crushing, soul crushing on so many levels. As it relates to that,
It makes you wonder what she possibly said to her children to keep them in. I mean, how do you convince them to not leave? How did she scare them into not going to school, into not reaching out for help, into not texting? I mean, they had cell phones, and to not, or at least the son. The son, I believe, had a cell phone. which I think this officer talks about that. And so it makes you wonder, like, how did she keep them so isolated? Almost by choice. I just I don't know. It's very tragic. This whole situation is infuriating. Hi, B. Tim.
The house, we have obviously released pictures. I'll get my technical expert up. You've already seen some of these pictures. I rolled that little mouse, but it didn't want to cooperate. So inside of the home, as I had mentioned with these pictures, trash was piled, in some places 3 and 4 foot high. Everything was covered with feces and trash. The toilet had become non-functional, and the bathtub was filled with feces. That's the kind of situation these poor kids
Thank you for 20 months.
had been living
Thank you so
in
much for being
for
a family
years,
member.
not just hours or days, for years. And so when you have the complete lack of hygiene, a complete breakdown of basic living conditions
It's so freaking
that they were
devastating.
subjected to. And to get a little deeper into that, detectives have narrowed down the initial abandonment they believe to be somewhere in the spring to summer of 2020. Obviously, COVID played a little part in the disconnect potentially with schools and school communications.
Absolutely is, B. Tim. Absolutely.
In
Thank you so much.
2020, the mother dropped off some trash bags, gloves, and Febreze, and that was about the last thing related to hygiene. 2020, in the height of COVID. Okay. Towards the end, the children apparently were getting a loaf of bread dropped off that was intended to last 3 to 4 days. So, obviously on so many levels, the conditions are horrendous and the situation terrible. So what we're trying to do in the meantime, and as it relates specifically to the case, the preliminary report has been turned over to the prosecutor. We're adding some more stuff for them. They're in the process of determination. When I heard about this, I called her on the weekend and let it know it was coming, and she has her staff queued up, and they're in that process. As it relates to the kids, the first thing we wanted to do is obviously get them safe and to get them clean and get them enclosed. And I will say we have one of the most generous communities, I think, in the world. We put on there that we needed clothing, and this is just a tiny sample of what we've received. At the office of another office of ours, we have bags and bags. So we don't need any more clothing. We greatly appreciate it. The family and the kids greatly appreciate it. And so we're kind of pivoting now to financial support. And we have put up a link, if you will, to the charity Mission Oakland, and 100% of it will go to the kids. Unlike some of the traditional fundraising methodologies you see out there, they take a percentage, 100% of this will go to the kids. What I am asking is, again, our generous viewers and listeners out there and readers, we're looking for a law firm that would set up a trust fund so that we can take 100% of what we receive in donations for these kids and put it in a trust that can be administered, that can take care of maybe their medical bills, mental health visits, and if there's any overage, maybe set some money aside for their future education. This can be a long-term situation, and so we'd like to be able to kind of hand the baton to a trust fund that will manage it in a way that makes sure it's just the kids.
And this is amazing. And so if you guys start seeing fundraisers, I want to make sure that it's the fundraiser that the police are putting on. They are doing this. They're going to have it set up in a way that these children, just the children, benefit from the fundraiser. And I love that. I absolutely love that, because right now, I think that this is still in a situation where we don't know exactly how many people could have known, right? We can assume that no one knew. But you still have questions. And so this sounds great. It's going to be money for their care, whether it's 5 years down the road and they still have dental issues or something like that, or maybe they still need mental health counseling. I am thankful that these officers are going to set it up in a way that it can go to them and make sure that they are going to be taken care of in the long term. So it's awesome. Cooter G, thank you so much for 22 months. You guys, Sleuth family, you guys have been amazing since the beginning. It's awesome. I love each and every one of you guys and everybody who comes in and watches these horrific cases and learns about some of the horrible things that are going on in this world. And we do it together, and we try to do what we can to raise awareness about these different situations, and also try to gain knowledge even for our own personal lives and things like that. And so thank you guys all for choosing to be here. I appreciate each and every one of you. Yes, Lioness, we will definitely get that link going. Daddy's baby girl. So mom had custody of them, but she left them alone since 2020. You think there's no way that no one knew? I'm going to show you a message, and we'll see. We'll see. I'm going to hold judgment until the officers tell us. I know that they are going to heavily be investigating this. I think they are going to go through all types of phone records and things like that. The sheriff certainly seems to care and want full answers and want to know. They want to know.
Not suggesting anybody else would do anything with it, but we're looking for a mechanism where we can hand this off. So if there's a firm out there that would like to set up a trust fund for these kids, then we'll deposit any receipts that we have. In a very short period of time, I think we've already got the $15,000 to $20,000 in on our donations. So we're going to, obviously have some real dollars to be able to give these kids, but that won't make up for the 3-4 years that they've been subjected to these conditions. I've said this more than once, but you see those videos of animals in just terrible conditions on commercials, and it pulls you at your heartstrings. Imagine maybe by 10 living in what we showed you, and then play it out over years, not days or weeks. So it's hard to wrap your head around this one. So there's going to be a lot of long-term, I think, mental health and educational needs and things that we want to try to help with the family to get to that point. The other thing I'd like to mention, the family is asking, apparently, some of the folks that are now involved with the kids that didn't know, that's another question we've asked, they didn't know what was going on with the kids. They had been told by her that somebody else was babysitting the children or other kinds of things. So they were unaware what was happening so far, according to our investigation. But what they're asking is they feel like they're being hounded by media outlets. So they'd like to get some privacy for their kids and the grandkids and aunts, and those folks want just a little bit of a safe bubble, if you would. So they asked that, which of course we're going to do. Now, on another front, all of us are asking, how the heck did this happen? How did we lose 3 kids? How did they fall through the system? The community, the relatives, the schools, how did no one know? And the easiest answer we could come up with, and I put on my old legislative hat, and thank heavens we've got a person on our staff that also had worked in the legislature, and we examined the school code, and there's some gaps that we think in part allowed this to happen. And so what we're going to suggest is there needs to be some changes in state law. Right now, basically, there is no specific duty required that is triggered by certain actions. So what I mean by that is a school district, in this case, received a request for records from another school in Pontiac, but no verification the children ever moved to that school. And so at some point, when they didn't show up, they were just dropped off the enrollment of the school that sent the transcripts. So no one knew that they were nowhere. And so what we're proposing, and we're already communicating to a potential bill sponsor, is some amendments to the school code that will close that communication gap.
Good.
So that before a child is unenrolled, they have to obtain written confirmation that child's someplace else.
Good.
That doesn't happen now.
Right. We've talked about this in so many cases, guys, recently. So many cases. There should be some type of red flag. Seal, thank you so much for 37 months. Listen, guys, Seal has been here since the channel was born. BC, you too. You too. 32 months last time. Yeah. Yes, last time it was I made him do it, right? 35 months. Thank you so much. But this is it. So we have been talking about this. We were just talking about this with Harmony Montgomery. We've talked about this on every freaking case where we see these kids who are falling through the cracks time after time after time after time after time. And I keep saying that what keeps happening is law or legislators, whenever the tragic, horrible thing happens, they start off with these bills and we think that they're going great and we think that there's going to be changes and we think that something is going to get done, and then next thing you know, the gap is closed and people, or the gap is left open, I should say. Let me slow down. The bills never go through. Nothing ever actually passes through the legislative process. And so we end up with kid after kid after kid after kid after kid who are falling through these proverbial cracks, and nobody ever catches them. There's no red flags that they're even missing half of the time, and nobody steps up and stops them from this happening. Nobody notices that these kids are gone for 5 years because of these proverbial cracks. And so I am hoping and praying, thank God these children are alive, right? Because most of the cases that we cover that they have fallen through the cracks, most of the cases, guys, they're dead already. And so thank God these children are still alive. Imagine every illness that they went through over the last 5 years with no medicine, no water, no clean, hygienic things around them, nothing. Imagine these girls at the age that they are going through their feminine times without a mom telling them what's going on with their bodies and what's happening, and without any supplies, no toilet paper, no running water, no toilets that can flush, no trash pickup, like the horrific things, their hair, everything that has been described to us is just inconceivable to even stop and think about what these babies went through. But they have survived. They have gone through the worst time in their possible lives right now. And I pray that nothing ever, ever is any worse than what they're going through. And I pray that they can come out of this and they could be absolutely successful in their lives as they grow up and they learn how to be honestly human again, and learn to take care of themselves and to be taken care of, and learn what love is, and learn to be surrounded by good things and good people in a clean, healthy environment. And I pray that they can have that success as they continue to get older and things like that. And maybe they will be a champion to make sure that stuff like this does pass. But guess what? Even if they don't come through and do something amazing and they just grow up and they get to be normal people, I am happy for that too, because let me tell you, this is going to be a lot to overcome, you guys. This is going to be so much for them to come through. And so I'm hoping that this sheriff, with the connections that he has towards legislators, I imagine, with the connections that he has through law enforcement, that he can see through that this bill passes, that this gap gets closed, to make sure that this can become a law someday, and so that we don't see this happen to another child in Michigan, right? But that's just Michigan. So, but once one state starts it, It'll be easier to get passed from state to state to state to state to state. It'll be easier for it to become a federal mandate and things along those lines. So it just starts with one. And so far, every case that we have watched the gaps try to get closed with follow-up care and laws regarding schooling and things like that, every state so far, it's been shut down, and people cite privacy laws, and then it just falls through the cracks. And so here we go. Maybe he can do this. Maybe he can make the change. Right. They were 10, 8, and 7 whenever she abandoned them. 10 years old, 8 years old, and 7 years old whenever she abandoned them. They are now 15, 13, and 12. But they have been on their own for 5 years. Yeah, they were not babies, but they were young enough. They were young enough that they never should have been left alone. And I question what was going on in that home prior to her leaving them alone, because it sounds like, almost to me, I mean, he said that she showed up with trash bags, Febreze, I can't remember what else he listed, but he just named a few tiny cleaning things that she just kind of dropped off and left. And it really makes you wonder, was the house a mess and she just didn't want to clean and she didn't want to deal with it? And so she just left? I don't know. Was she arrested? Oh, yeah, she was arrested. She was arrested, but here's the thing. What type of charges is she going to be looking at? What type of charges will she actually face? Will anything that they do to her, the amount of time that she spends in jail, will any of it actually give them any type of justice? I mean, most she can get is probably, I don't know, what does child neglect and abandonment give? Let me see. It's a felony, but how many years? Okay, ready? Are you ready for this? A person who deserts, abandons. Okay, wait, so that's, yeah. Children under 17 without providing necessary food, shelter, care, clothing, things like that. Do you guys want to hear how long she could get for just that child abandonment charge? Now it'll be times 3. 1 year, not more than 3 years, or by imprisonment in the county jail for not less than 3 months and not more than 1 year. That's child abandonment. That's it. Now, what else they're going to slap her with, I don't know. Maybe some child abuse charges. I mean, in my opinion, they should get her with like attempted murder, in my opinion. So, child abuse itself is a second-degree felony. First offense, not more than 10 years. So, we're looking at maybe 12 years, maybe 15, unless they charge her for each child separately. But I'm going to tell you, we have seen murder cases where they barely get any time. And so with these children being alive, it's not enough time. It is not enough time. So how did they find the kids? He actually talks about that in a second, I believe. But essentially what happened was she stopped paying rent in October, and and um and the last time that the landlord had heard from her, I believe, was December. And then he called and did a welfare check because he hasn't heard anything. Yeah, serve consecutively, it'll be like 15 plus years, but still, that's not enough time. It's not enough time, Ringo. And we still don't even know. I don't even know exactly what all her charges are at this point. So, either way, it's not enough.
And that's what happened here, it appears. It's still, again, being investigated because we're going back years and trying to check records, but it looks like based on that request for records, neither of them knew where that child was and presumed, I guess, that the other one had the children. So the other thing, this is the specific language, but it goes into basically filling that gap, closing that hole, so that if a child doesn't show up at a school for a period of time, then it triggers a follow-up where they have to communicate with either a truancy officer or law enforcement to begin an examination of what happened to these kids. Where are they? You know, it's unbelievable to think that we've got 3 kids that fell off everybody's map for years. So that goes to the second part, as I said, within 20 days, the sending school that sent those records has to notify the truancy officer if they have not received written confirmation that that child is someplace else safe. So it shortens the window. First trigger is 10 days, second trigger is 20 days. And obviously, this can be worked on, amended, or changed by the legislature. We're just suggesting there's got to be some accountability measures so we don't have kids fall through the cracks in such a horrific way.
Yes, sir.
And that is the direct donation link to the children and their needs. So that's kind of the basics of where we are. As I said, we're going to have some follow-up investigative things we're going to be doing. We're going to check much more deeply the children's physical and mental well-being. Obviously, we're going to need to get an educational assessment on where they are. Without any education for a period of years, you know, you hear how many kids across this country fell way behind from 1 year of COVID. Imagine where these kids are. And so, you know, we don't have a clue. Where are they educationally in terms of acuity and also mental health and all the developmental things that happen in those critical years? You know, we don't know. And they're going to have needs with that. So it's a big undertaking, a big process, and one of the most tragic long-term abuse situations I've ever seen. I've been in this a long time. So that's kind of where we sit.
That is the link, you guys. I just dropped it in chat.
What did mom say or do to make her children so scared of leaving the house for years?
They were just scared. I don't know that she said anything particular that she's admitted to us, but they were afraid to leave. I know that much.
What's the latest with mom? I know the prosecutor's looking at this, but where is she? What's going on?
She's in custody with us.
Is she cooperating?
Yeah, I mean, she's talking to us, but we've got some follow-up secondary things that we want to ask her based on more information that's come to our attention since this originally surprisingly came to our attention when we were thinking we were going to check on her welfare and found 3 kids.
Any idea on the state of her mental health?
I have no information or background that she's got any mental health challenges, but obviously that won't be all part of the case.
No, she's fine. She's just...
For everyone who's stepped up to make donations, whether it's been financial or all these supplies that have come in.
A heartfelt, warm thank you to everybody that has stepped up. I mean, as I said, in very short order, we got a ton of clothing, so much we had to say, okay, we got enough of that. Let's pivot to other ways we can help, and people have jumped in on that. I honestly think we have one of the most generous communities in the world, and I've seen it time and time again. You know, I mean, this goes back more than 20 years when I went to Ground Zero after 9/11. And so many police and fire families were decimated. And at that time, there was no mechanism. They immediately had their livelihood cut off, and these families had no income whatsoever. And so I started raising money in this area for the New York firefighters and police officers, and we raised hundreds of thousands of dollars in very short order and gave it to those families before they got any assistance from anyone else. That's this community. That's the heart and soul of this community. So, I just say thank you.
What about the landlord? Usually when you're renting, the landlord or somebody will come in and do a maintenance check. What are they saying?
Well, the landlord's the one that actually called in a welfare check. He said he hadn't heard from who he thought was the tenant for a period of time, and she hadn't paid her rent since October. So, typically a landlord would respond if there's complaints about something not working, but he was unaware of any of this. He actually sent us there to check on what he thought was his tenant, and that's when we found the kids.
And what's going to happen to that apartment or that townhouse right now? Is it dangerous for the people that are, next door to some kind of compact area?
Yeah, that will probably be up to the health department and other folks that will have to make a determination of how they move that forward. When we processed that scene for evidentiary value, our folks were wearing hazmat suits. On every level, it's a biohazard.
How about any debriefing for the officers who found that? Do they go through any kind of debriefing? That's got to be kind of hard for them.
That's horrific. Again, I've been in this business a long time. The worst thing for our folks, our men and women on the front lines, is when they have an issue with kids. Because most of them, bring that home in a way that connect. They look at their kid and they see the other kid in this situation, and they just begin to, personalize it, and it tears them up. So thankfully, we've got a great peer-to-peer program, and that was initiated immediately once we learned what the situation was, to both debrief them and make sure that they have some opportunity to process what they were involved in and how to, in a healthy way, move forward. After you see some of the terrible things we see in our world, homicides and abuse, you'll never unsee it, but you have to find a healthy way to process it and then take another step forward and go back out and continue to do your job.
Were comfort dogs like Callie brought into the kids at the hospital and things, and how did that go?
Yes, I think 2 came right away, and that's been, here Callie sits in this corner. Our comfort dogs have been involved in so many tragedies. When I started this program, I thought, well, this will be helpful here and there. It's almost a daily thing. It is daily if you consider how it helps our people. But, think where these dogs have been. They've been to Oxford. They've been to the splash pad scene. They've been to suicides. They've been to, one thing after another. And I think they make an amazing difference.
Do you have any information at all as to why this mom would do this for years to her children?
Not at this point. They're going to, again, try to ask her some more questions. That's all part of the investigation, how or why. I don't think there's never going to be an answer any of us can understand or accept on the why. How do you? Anybody that's a parent looks at their kids and thinks, what a blessing, what a gift. And to allow this to happen, I don't think anyone, whether you have kids or not, will ever wrap your head around. But, maybe we can get some insight what she was thinking, but it will never satisfy any of us.
Do we know where she was living while they were living there?
Elsewhere in Pontiac.
Like a friend's house? Was it a family member?
Who was she living with?
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably won't get into that at this point.
I bet he knows.
Just kind of elaborate that she'd go to all these lengths trying to hide it from her family and all this. What stands out about this to you, Sheriff?
Yeah, the complexity of it, the length of it, on so many levels, it's just hard, again, to wrap your head around. If you don't want to be a parent, then there's mechanisms in place. There's methodologies to either give your child up for adoption or to other family members. Mm-hmm. There's never an excuse to abuse your child or abandon your kids. There just isn't. There's so many people that are just wanting a child in their life out there. And I know there's a lot of kids that haven't been adopted, but anything's better than this. You know, if that's not in your wheelhouse to be a parent, then, you know, let someone else have a chance at that role.
That's right.
Thank you.
You don't have to kill them. You don't have to abandon
In the
them.
interactions with the children the last couple of days, does it seem like the children knew that they were being abused, or did they have any idea of reality outside of the house?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was their reality. You know, they had no adult contact, and especially when you back up the ages, you know, they're pretty young, and mom tells you to do something when you're, you know, 11, 8, whatever the ages were when this all started. You're probably think, well, I guess maybe this is what happens, you know, or this is normal. This is not normal. But, you know, they had no benchmark. They had nothing to compare it against.
So freaking heartbreaking.
You know, there was the TV on, all that sort of stuff that they have.
Yes.
That was all out.
Yep. But as I said, the toilet and the bathtub were non-functional.
I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's so heartbreaking to think about, like, the fact that this was just their reality. This is just what they thought was normal. It's just wow. It's just absolutely disturbing. So the link that I shared, this is the PayPal, you guys, and I'll show you it taking me straight from their Facebook to the PayPal link so that you know that it's actually the PayPal. Pull it over here so I can do it like this. So this is the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. Here is the PayPal. Clicking it takes me up here. I'm copying and pasting down into your chat right now. This is the PayPal link for them. And so this is through the sheriff's office. I can't think of a safer way to raise funds for them than the people who would prosecute you if you were going to do it wrong. So let's if you're going to donate through them. If you do not have PayPal, if you contact the sheriff's office, I imagine that they will give you another means to be able to send funds in if you would like to send something in not through this. So there's that. Let me pull this up. So I mentioned that. Okay, let me pull this up like this. I don't want to show this person's name necessarily. She did. She destroyed their childhood. She destroyed, likely their ability to trust, I imagine, is going to be completely shattered. Their ability to think that they're not just going to be left alone and abandoned at any given time in any relationship. That's going to take a long time to build that up, to build that back. It's going to take a long time for them to trust again and to feel safe and cared for and loved. Like the effects of this will literally be lifelong. Literally lifelong. And so that's why that officer said, the sheriff said he wanted to put this money into a trust for them because these are going to be lifelong issues. She left them for 5 years. 5 years. So somebody who knows her posted on Facebook. And this post was in regards to a lot of people basically questioning, how did nobody else know? And I know that is a question that many of us in this chat right now, many of us have that same question. How did nobody know? How did nobody see signs? How did everybody just let the family, how did they just not have contact with these kids all of a sudden? How did everybody just let them fall through this crack, right? I know we all have the same freaking questions. It's good questions. I mean, because I really want to know the answers too. And I have a feeling once they decide what exactly they are going to charge her with, then they will put out the arrest affidavits and things like that, what we normally go through. so that we can discuss a little bit more about the whys and the what happened and all of those things. Yeah, 5 critical years when their brains are developing, n when your neurons are neurons, I don't even know. Whenever they're firing and forming all those pathways for how you're going to develop the rest of your life and who you're going to become, and when you learn some of the most critical things in your life, abandoned, left on their own with no one to guide them. And it sounds like no healthy food. She was door dashing everything, prepared meals and things like that. But then it got to the point in the end where she was just sending loaves of bread that were supposed to last them for a week. It's disturbing to think about everything that these kids went through. It really is. Oh, I'm so sorry, Angie baby. Yes, they are with their grandpa now. So it says, well, I'm sure that they're also, yeah, in the hospital getting treatment and things like that. But the grandfather, I believe, is who has custody. Hi, Stacy. You're welcome. Absolutely. So it says, I wasn't going to say anything, but I've been getting calls and messages. So I'm just going to say this and I'm done with it. If you don't, if you did not know her personally, you shouldn't have S to say about no one's family and what should happen to them when you don't know. For one, this girl has been around acting like she didn't have her children, telling everyone that the father had the kids, and he didn't even know what was up and went to court for them and everything. And the only thing he did wrong was not try harder because he didn't want to deal with her. Her mother had the children, but when she got the place, she took the children back. It's her right. Nobody knew. I repeat, nobody knew. I've seen her text them, send DoorDash, always saying she's got to send baby daddy money for school clothes and stuff like that. And she somehow convinced the school that she moved the children to another city and they didn't do a further check either. Moral of the story is she did the flowers in the attic. She abandoned her children for a better life, which wasn't nothing, to be honest. People keep blaming the granddad. He sent her money every day thinking he was taking care of his grandkids because she's telling them the baby daddy on BS and told my son he can't see the kids because she don't like other people around her kids or the baby daddy don't like him. She really created a whole life without her kids and had everyone fooled. I know her family personally, and them kids' uncle is one of the most genuine people on this earth. When it comes to children, we go broke for them. Kids, he took care of them when they were with his mom. The kids are with their granddad while y'all disrespecting that man for no reason or anybody else in her family. Even some of the girls that she conversated with didn't know because she made it seem like she didn't have custody and she lied to the end saying my baby daddy's stupid, he got locked up. We don't even supposed to have custody of the kids and they in the hospital. I got to go get them. Left the house and never went to them kids cuz she knew it was over, crying like she cared. Shake my head. It's sad cuz she had all the help in the world and still put her life before them children when her life would have been good in someone else's care. When their life would have been good in someone else's care, the family doing their part, and those kids are going to be all right. But you can still donate since everybody got an opinion about something and they know S about now. Help everyone put her story up. Send something to them kids the same way you gossip on this app. Have a blessed and beautiful day, everyone. Yeah. You read Flowers in the Attic. Yeah. You find that hard to believe. Yeah. You think about the times it was really cold or a storm came through, like thunderstorms and stuff with them babies alone. Yeah, maybe. But here's the thing. So she was paying rent up until this or October of this past year, guys. She maintained an entire second apartment for these kids. Like, and she was staying with whoever. And while she was doing that, she was paying the electric bill. The kids were playing video games and things like that. They were watching TV and playing video games. So she was paying an electric bill. They had running water, he said. The toilet and the tub did not work because of everything going on in that bathroom. You guys seen the pictures. But they had running water, so she was paying a water bill. She was paying bills for an entire second apartment that she never went inside to see her own children. So this makes me think that the person that she was staying with would have to have been aware that all of her dang money was going to a second place to live, in my opinion. I just find it hard to believe that whoever she was staying with had no idea. I could understand maybe the family not knowing, to the point of her saying that he got custody, that he won the battle, that he did all of the things, right? I could understand that. And then this, maybe some of the money that she was taking from her daddy and taken to send to the kids, maybe that's how she was affording all of this. But I cannot picture the person she was staying with having no clue. And I think that's why the officer didn't want to talk about who she was staying with, because I hope that your charges are coming home, boy. Whoever you are, whatever you were doing with her, whatever type of relationship you guys were in, I hope that everybody who knew gets charged. Period. So the stranger bringing food, BC, was DoorDash. She was DoorDashing them once a week food. Maybe she told him it was going to child support. True. Maybe. Maybe she thought, maybe she convinced it was child support. I guess, see, this is why I talk things over with you guys, because you might give me a different perspective, a different outlook. I don't know. I don't know. Here is the, let me see. So this is custody documents. This one's actually the most recent. Let me go back in time. It's mega expensive. Yes, DoorDash is very expensive. I want to know what she did for a living. Where'd you get all her, well, like, what was she doing? What did she do as a job? Do we know that? Does anybody know what she was doing for a living? It's hard. I'm trying not to put her name out there, right? I know her name. I know her baby daddy's name, like the kid's dad. I know all of that information. I'm really trying not to say her name. I know it's out there. I know you guys are going to see it on news articles and all of the places. But out of respect for the child who has the same name as her, I don't want to help blast it on the internet. You know, that baby's got to go through enough, let alone have her name be plastered onto things, right? So let me pull up. I almost pulled something up and then I realized. Hold on. Ooh, that was almost bad. 1 second. Here I am like, oh, I don't want to show the babies' names, but then almost showed there. 1 second here. Here she is. Here's her mugshot. There she is. We've seen her all dolled up. This is her mugshot. Arrested on Valentine's Day. Was she being trafficked? I don't know. I don't know. I I have questioned that, but at the same time, um based off of things that I have seen people that know her comment and talk about how she talked about the kids and things like that, I don't think that that's what was going on here. I don't think that's what was going on here. Now, could she have potentially been putting herself out there in order to make finances, or, maybe running like a OnlyFans or something like that? Maybe. I haven't found it yet. I've been looking. I have not found like an OnlyFans or anything in regards to her name yet. However, again, there's a lot of things that I miss. So if somebody out there knows, send me that over. Send me that information. sleuthmom12@outlook.com. I'd be more than happy to be educated on it. Um, I know that her Facebook pages that I have seen, she does have some pretty provocative looking photos. And you know, but here, let me show you. This is one of the Facebook accounts that I found. I don't know, Ringo. I don't know. I mean, this is not how I would choose to sit on a cover photo, but you know, not exactly how I would choose to dress. But some people like to look like that. You know what I mean? Some people like to flaunt what they got type of thing. I don't know, but she looks well cared for in 2023. She looks well fed. She doesn't look like she's on anything. She has pretty nails and she's dressed up. Yeah, she could have been turning tricks. She could have been. I think it's strange that she was in contact with the son, but made no contacts or made any attempts to see her daughters. Um, but this is exactly it. No matter what she was going through, she could have sent her kids with her dad. She could have sent her kids anywhere. The kids literally had a father who wanted to see them. This is court stuff, guys. From the dad trying to see his kids, wanting to see his kids, failure to like she was not following through on her side of things. He was literally filing things to try to get custody and try to see his kids. Did he try hard enough? He's not going to try hard enough for some of you. And I get that. But he actually did make attempts to see his children. You don't see that in very many of these cases, but he did. I think a lot of people feel so beat up by the system whenever they're a man trying to go against a woman for custody that they just give up, especially a man with a past. You'd scream for days if your nails broke. She looks very well cared for in November of 2023 on this Facebook. She has another social media as well, but this is the one that I'm going to show you guys because it does not show the children and it does not show um, any of her, it doesn't show her name, right? How do you pick up things or put in contacts with nails that long? I don't know. But regardless of the circumstances surrounding it, there was no excuse. Yeah. She has a son who was 10 that she was communicating with by phone, and he had contacted her whenever the police got there, and he told her to hide, or she told them to hide. So they ran and locked themselves in the bathroom. I don't know. This entire case is just extremely, extremely tragic. I want to see what they're going to charge her with. I want to know what they are going to hit her with. And I want to know if she's ever going to sit down and, I don't know, admit to what she did. I don't know why, like, I wish that people would just admit to what they did, but they never do. They were just for the pic. As soon as she had to open the car door, it was over. Maybe. She is 34 years old. 34. Again, here is that PayPal link. Y'all can ignore my Cash App dropping. That's an automatic thing. Don't donate there. Here is the PayPal link. This goes to those kids. Yeah, pray for those children. Guys, I can't even stress enough. They are going to go through so much. So much. Yep, daddy's baby girl. You're right. What gets me is there's so many people out there who truly want children and can't have them. What gets me is there's so many people out there who would have taken these children. There is no justifiable reason why she left these kids in the situation that she did. You stop and think about the fact that one day in 2020, she just left that house and decided she was never going back. She has not set foot in that house for 5 freaking years with 3 children inside of it. She just up and walked away for 5 years. Her daughters have not seen anyone outside of that home in 5 years. Her son went outside 2 times, once to get the mail and once to touch grass in 5 years. What the heck? What did she say to them before she left that last day that scared them so bad to stay in that house? Yep, she was 15 when she started making babies. No. Yes. Wait. 5 years ago, 29. No, that's not right, Lioness. Wait a second. I have to do the math. She'd be 19. 19 when she started making babies. 19. I was like, wait a second, that's not right. Yeah, this is it. You got it, Ringo. 34 with a 15-year-old. She was 19. Maybe it was the day that the toilet overflowed. Who of us here hasn't learned to plunge? Yeah, 18 or 19, right? I just, you guys. It'll just never make sense. These cases, I will never understand them. And I wish I could. I wish I could like sit down with these monsters and just be like, but why? I just want to ask every single one of these people every single time, why? If I understood the why, maybe we could see the signs better and like stop stuff like this from happening in the future and stuff like that. And I know you're never going to stop every case, but why? Why did she just up and leave? Selfishness? Is it really as simple as selfishness? She just wanted to go live her life. Well, that's fine. Go live your life. Give them back to your dad. Give them back to your mom. Send them to their dad who was fighting for custody of them all throughout this time frame. You fought him for custody to abandon them alone for years? What? Here we go. 2022. She seemed healthy then too. Here's her other Facebook. 2020. She already done left them kids at this point. She looked perfectly fine in that. She's getting some flowers. Twenty 2021. And she's definitely got some very provocative photos. But she looks well cared for. She don't look like she's on nothing. I can't see any logical reason. I don't know. I don't get it. What lurks in the minds of people who do this to their children? Right. I agree. She's in love with herself. You don't think she ever cared about them kids. So then why fight for them? Why fight for custody? Why take them back from your family who had them and was caring from them? Why take them back? And then here's the thing I want to know, and I probably won't know this until court or whenever things start taking place, but I want to know if whenever her parents had custody, did they get custody through DCYF or CPS, whatever it's called in Michigan? Did they get custody because of child welfare services and then she was able to take them back um or get them back through the system, or was the agreement that they had the children not done through like a DCYF type program? I'm curious about that. Because did you fight to get them back out of the system as well before you also abandoned them? Like, I just can't. I don't understand it. Yeah, she took them back from her mom just to leave them out of spite. Child support, money. I don't know. Ringo. Money. Everybody thinks it's money. Maybe. I want to know. Also, was she collecting? Well, no. Oh, I wonder if she was getting state benefits for them, like food stamps and stuff. So many questions. So many. So we're gonna keep following this though, and we are. Yeah, her parents took good care of them. I seen a lot of photos that they looked genuinely happy and looked like they were well cared for, if that was them. Right? If that was them, whether it was on their biological father's page or grandpa's page, things like that. There are photos out there, but again, out of respect for these kids, I'm not putting them up. Just because they're on somebody's public Facebook page does not mean that they need to come on my YouTube video. I'm going to try to respect what the officer is trying to do and help them, you know, stay as private as they can through this process, if we can, right? If we can. On my end anyways. Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. So I'll be looking for those arrest documents as soon as those arrest documents come out. Okay, I lied. I won't be looking for them. Seal will be looking for them. And as soon as we get those arrest documents, guys, I'll upload and we will discuss what they're charging her with and the details surrounding it. I imagine the forensic interviews, even for the kids, because they said that they have started the interview process with them. The way that forensic interviews work, if you guys aren't familiar with child cases, is they do it over a course of several weeks to months. So it really depends on the child as far as how much the child can handle going through at any given time. And so it's a long process sometimes to really find out how much they can charge her with. Um, because if they're going to be looking for things on top of the child abuse or the child neglect abandonment, it is my guess. So they're going to look to charge her with as many counts of abuse as they can, as many counts of neglect that they can. They're going to be looking through phone records if she was texting her son to see if she had sent him any threats and things like that. They'll be looking through a lot. They will be looking through a ton to see what else they can hit her with. And then once they have all of that in a nutshell, we will see the official charges come and court dates and things like that coming. But no date set as of this point, Daddy's baby girl. So, one more time, I'm going to drop this PayPal link because I do think that if you are going to support something, hey, you want to send me a thank you for doing this live stream, don't send it to me. Send it to them because these kids need that money a heck of a lot more than I do right now. And they need this to help them get set up for their future and to help make sure that they are able to get the mental health care, the physical health care, and whatever else they freaking want for the rest of their life. I don't care if we're buying them season passes to Disney every year until they can't physically walk to go through Disney anymore. Like, I don't care what it is that these kids want. They deserve everything, 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 everything. And so, I hope that people are able to help them with the things that the person who was supposed to help and care for them, you know, didn't, chose not to. So that's just my opinion on it. Send it there. Anyways, guys, I love you so much. I'm going to go ahead and jump off here. And like I said, we will follow up once we get some more documents. And I will talk to you all later. Have a good night. Bye.